I can't see it yet.
Okay, well, you should see it any second now because it says we're live. Been live for nearly 10 seconds. Can you see it yet, Michael?
No. Do I
Okay.
refresh?
Probably. I don't know. Either way.
Yay!
Yeah, you got it
See it
now?
now. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, nice layout.
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah, it's good.
Awesome. Right, so, here we are, the Command AV Lockdown Vodcast. Hey.
Hey.
It took us an absolute age to think of that name. I'm joking, it took 10 seconds. um, so, yeah, here we are, day one of the lockdown in the UK.
Day one.
And, yeah, yesterday was essentially our last day of on-site work until all of this blows over. So, let's all
Mm.
head to the Winchester and have a pint, shall we?
No, we can't go to the Winchester. You did see the
Ah, damn it,
you
pubs are shut.
you saw the
Well,
Shaun of the Dead video, right?
no, I didn't.
You should watch it. They reenact the whole Shaun of the Dead thing,
Ah,
and they say don't go to the Winchester because there's loads of people there and you'll catch the virus.
ah, ha, ha, ha.
So
Yeah,
stay at home.
makes sense. Makes sense. So, yeah, and pubs are shut, so we're shit out of luck there. Apologies
I
for
think
swearing.
the pub was shut in the film. They just broke in, but we shouldn't
Well,
break into
yeah,
places.
it was shut because the owner was dead, so that's a whole different story, but okay.
Uh,
Anyway,
yeah.
so here we are. We're now essentially entertaining ourselves online remotely because I suppose people don't want us in their houses. Well, not just us, people don't want anyone in their houses, and now the government is somewhat reinforcing that to not mix between households.
Mm.
Yeah. So,
It's a
yeah.
good thing this virus doesn't go over the line because we'd have nothing.
Yeah, if it was to be able to, I apologize, transmit like that, then yeah.
Oh dear. Got it.
Michael,
Um,
stop joking about the virus. Um,
I'm not. I do have a cough.
okay. Also, I just want to say as well, obviously, this streams are coming from a different channel to the usual Command AV YouTube channel because there was a slight glitch. Not a slight glitch, it's one of YouTube's little caveats when you want to stream something live. The first time you go to do it, you have to wait 24 hours for that facility to become available. So I'm just using my personal channel for streaming it, and any future streams, although we haven't really got anything planned, whether they be daily, weekly, monthly, whatever the case is, they will be streamed on the Command AV YouTube channel, which I should probably add a link down in the description. I'll do that at the end of the video. This is going to go on as one of the videos, a recorded video on the channel anyway, so yeah, that'll be on there eventually. And
So we should maybe move on and start talking about why we're all here.
because we've been very naughty.
that was
we
that was a really good interview.
Yeah, we we went out to work yesterday, and now we've been told no, go home. So that's it. Well, in
Yeah,
all fairness, the work from yesterday was booked in a week ahead of time, and the client did actually say we understand if you don't want to come, and we were like, well, actually, it's fairly minor work, and 90% of the work was outside in fresh air in the open. So we
and
said
it was
no.
in an currently unused section of an
Well, it's a separate
outhouse.
house. Yeah, it's a separate house. It's
There
a
was no one
cottage
there.
on the land. So, yeah, it was all good.
And then I went to the supermarket,
Yeah,
so I was surrounded by people there.
that's true. Yeah, people in supermarkets seemed very blasé about the whole situation. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Well,
crazy.
I'm glad they've taken steps to lock us down. I know it means we can't do stuff, but it also means that this shit doesn't spread.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah,
Because the amount of people. So yesterday in the afternoon, we went out for a walk, for instance, which that's still one of the things you can go and do. Um, and I was surprised that the parks were just filled with teenagers sitting around in bunches. Whether they were kicking the ball around, some of them were just sitting there in groups of like 5 or 6. When clearly the advice has been to not do that. It's a bit silly, and there's a few shops we did see they were quite strict about how many people they actually allow in. One shop, in fact, was saying only 2 people allowed in the shop at a time. Not 2 school children, 2 people. And everyone wore gloves, and it was just like, oh, okay, very clinical, which is good. And that was just a little privately owned shop. It wasn't even a supermarket, so that was very good of them. Quite admirable. I see.
I see we've got a comment there from
Danny Ferris. So that's an ex-colleague of mine, actually, in the car parking world. Thanks, Danny.
Nice.
We do our best to ensure our video and audio quality is tip-top at all times. Although you've got no idea the trouble and shit we went through to actually get some sort of a video feed, because...
It took like an hour.
Yeah, this is the first time.
That was our prep time. Like, we have no prep now. We've just...
Yeah, so the time we should have spent actually preparing what we're going to talk about, we spent trying to get through a few technical issues, because it's the first time we've streamed a 2-camera setup with some extra additional graphics and the chat and everything on the video stream. So it's very interesting.
I had set up this Audio Technica 8897 shotgun microphone to be able to use it, but my laptop decided to not want to cooperate with my audio card, so I'm literally just using the built-in mic and camera now. So sucks.
Yeah, so I mean, in all fairness, your audio quality is coming through just fine, Michael. So that's good.
Must be the power of Apple Mac.
So let's send a little response there to Danny. Thank you very much. So weirdly enough, obviously in the last few days, well, it's been about 4 or 5 days that I had posted on Instagram in the stories that we were taking questions ahead of time. And apart from the usual array of spam from like bot accounts or whatever they are, one actual question we did get was, let me remind myself what it was, I just got to find it. I wrote it down. No, I didn't write it down. I took a screenshot of it. It was from a Portuguese guy. I know it's Portuguese because I had to get Google Translate to tell me what it was. Where are my screenshots? My screenshots have disappeared. There he is. So I'm not going to try the actual Portuguese pronunciation of what he asked, but what Google Translate told me he asked was, who was the last person you said thank you to? And completely unrelated to AV, but a bit of an eye-opener, because now that's the kind of question that is going to make you think, damn, when's the next time you're going to interact with someone on that level where you can actually thank them for a service,
Oh my god,
that's deep. Mind blown.
Ow.
So,
it's quite sad, really.
I don't know if he was trying to be philosophical or if he was just doing a bit of spam baiting or whatever, but his question was, who was the last person you said thank you to? And outside of my household, I can't really think, except for maybe like when we finished at the shop yesterday, to the cashier, like, oh yeah, thank you for the receipt. Thank you for charging me all this money.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the joy of taking my money. So, which is actually, that's doubly sad, really, because it's something has been taken from you and you're thanking them for it. So weird world we live in. We thank people for...
It's thank you for the exchange of money for a product. But do we ever say thank you to our employer for the exchange of our time for money?
That's even deeper, Michael. I can't... Like...
Thank you, me. Thank you, me.
Yeah. Well, in our case, that's it. So I'll shake my own hand and. Can we do a handshake for the camera? Yeah, that kind of works. I don't know.
I can't see your camera.
Oh yeah, because of the weird setup.
pretending.
Unless you look at the stream, then you can see me. Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
can. However,
It's
it's
delayed.
very delayed.
Yeah, that's standard.
Oh,
Standard.
there's your hand. Now we're doing the
Oh,
handshake.
oh,
Um,
damn.
yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Ooh,
So, okay, let's get back on topic then. For the
yeah.
little we did prepare. Obviously, we can't really carry on with the work that we intend to do, which is very much AV, networking, Wi-Fi's, media rooms, cinemas, security, stuff like that, where we physically need to be inside other people's houses most of the time, unless it's a construction site, in which case it's mostly open air or whatever. But
People don't want us in their houses
exactly,
anyway, regardless of whether there's a virus or not. So, as far
yeah,
as going around,
there is that,
they're not. They don't want us there. Definitely
yeah,
not.
and
They just want the product.
obviously now with the government enforcement around not mixing between households, like if you're in one household you can't go to another one, you shouldn't interact with anyone from another household, then yeah, that kind of enforces that, we shouldn't be interacting with other people at all, unless you keep the 6 feet of distance between you, but if you're entering someone's house it's very tough to maintain that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably the main reason for us to be unable to carry on any normal work at this stage, because I suppose, yeah, we don't have that many commercial clients where you're not entering households or not entering confined spaces. So it's the card that we've been dealt.
I mean, most other AV people know the spaces that we get into are very confined usually.
Yeah, bloody hell. So,
Uh,
some of the equipment rooms we've been in, you could not swing a cat in there as such.
I mean, look. I mean, us guys were quite big, so we always struggle
Yeah,
getting around racks
yeah,
and.
we're sizable characters.
Uh-huh.
So
Plant rooms are not my friend.
yeah, I can think of some plant rooms or equipment rooms that are very sizable.
Mm.
If you had ever been to, they changed name. It was Diners Hatch or something out in the sticks beyond
Okay.
Sevenoaks. Yeah, that you could probably have a small house party in that plant room. But it's still not comfortable because it's extremely hot because there's 3 boilers in the room. So
That's usually the case.
you,
Or
you
either that, or it's all the gubbins for a swimming pool.
exactly, you don't want to spend too much time in there. So
Yeah.
it's a breeding ground for bacteria, I suppose, because it's moist and warm. So I'm surprised I don't grow any mushrooms. Yeah,
That mushrooms would definitely get us through the next. Anyway.
yeah.
Um,
So on top of that,
Portobello.
obviously, um, as we've seen on the news this morning, for anyone that was watching, construction sites are now slowly being urged to close down as well. I know up in Scotland they've been told to close down. In London this morning, a lot of construction sites, especially larger ones where there are tens or in some cases nearly 100 people on site. Obviously, the government instruction is, well, officials are getting a bit angry at the fact that so many people are just saying, well, no, I'm going to work, where obviously the instruction was if your key job role is key or essential, then you can go to work. But
Yeah, and building a new office block is not essential right now.
no, it's not, because
and let's face it, like if you are employed, it's really hard at the moment for the self-employed. But if you're employed, your employer can go to the government and apply for this thing.
yeah,
So you get 80% of your at least
wage paid
80% of
for,
your
yeah,
wages covered.
that's right.
And then if you're a business owner again, I mean, luckily we are business owners, so
Yeah,
but we employ ourselves. So I'm still not 100% sure on where we go from here, but I I'm hopeful.
yeah. Well, I think it's going to be a few weeks yet before we can even make the application for what do they call it? The Coronavirus Employee Retention Scheme.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll see how well that goes down. We'll
But
we'll be sure
keep,
to have an update on it. So,
yeah, keep checking the government website for more info.
yeah. And obviously, with construction sites closing down, it's going to delay um, work for us and everyone else in the industry.
Mm.
That's both new work coming in and ongoing work. But in all fairness, like with, as Mike's just said, with office blocks, that it's not even something that's in use at the moment. So there's no need for new ones to pop up anytime quick.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that very much limits us to what we can do work-wise, and that's going to come down to any remote support where we can. So if we've got clients on support contracts, remote support we can offer, provided the equipment's in place. Because a lot of people who don't have a good concept, I think, of how things work, AV systems, etc. They usually say something like, "Oh, can you just remote in and fix that?" No, I don't have just like this. I don't have this like Superman X-ray vision into your house, and
Yeah,
I can't just log into stuff. There needs to be equipment in place and connections set up.
yeah.
It's
I
not like
think
a
I
free
think
for all.
I think something useful for us for our clients if they haven't got anything in place to allow us to do remote support is, if they've got a laptop, we can team viewer in,
Yeah,
um, and provide them support that way, and then provide them advice so they can actually be our hands and do the work. They'll learn something new, um,
yeah,
and it's a way for them to fix the problem if there is one. We haven't
yeah,
had any yet, so
yeah. Um,
I'm not
so
expecting there to be any problems.
yeah. I mean, in all fairness, it's day one, so we'll see how it
Yeah,
goes.
but the problems we usually get are our internet's not working,
Yeah,
um,
or
and
or people say, "Oh, the Wi-Fi is really slow," when actually it's the internet connection that's down.
yeah,
In which case, normally we can't do anything about it. It's probably a BT line issue. So yeah, that's a whole different kettle of fish. That
yeah. Numerous times it has been. Oh, they're up. There's a guy up a ladder up one of those phone line things up
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so he's probably messing around with your BT line right now.
yeah.
Just leave it for a bit.
It's like the one job that we had. What was it last? No, about 2 weeks ago now, where scheduled to go and sort out an internet-related issue, more
Mm.
so to do with streaming of media, and an hour before we were due on site, the client just texts and says, "Oh, by the way, BT have just knocked on the door. They're taking down the telegraph pole outside our house. Internet's going to be down for the rest of the afternoon." Oh, great!
Can you
So
can you still help?
yeah, yeah. Well, actually, he was quite sensible about the whole thing and said, let's reschedule for tomorrow morning when the internet's back up. So yeah, went there in the morning. It was fixed within the hour. Job
Yeah.
done. Yeah, and that was that. So
Yeah, I think usually it's a case of us doing our best to try and educate the client to know what to do in certain circumstances, and
yeah,
some of them take the info in, and some of them choose not to, and that's fine.
yeah,
It's just some people like to get more involved with their system than others, and
yeah,
that's why we're here for those who don't particularly want to know. They just want to get it done and have someone do it. So
yeah. So at the end of all that, the best advice we can give for now, if you don't want to get in touch with us, is if it doesn't work, turn it off and turn it back on again.
turn it off, turn it on.
Because
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
because that solves 99% of all issues.
And if that
Um,
fails, watch the IT crowd
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's cool.
and they actually prove that solves all issues.
Hmm.
um, so yeah, the other form of work we can do from home is obviously design work. So um, that's I suppose that's the kind of thing that usually you'd still have like a precursor meeting with a client, or be it a property developer or something. But
Mm.
we are very much in a position where through, be it a video call or video conference, we can talk to someone with ease, and then provided we get sent some drawings for plans or whatever, we can use those and actually update and adapt them for cable schedules, elevation drawings, etc. So any form of AV project or networking project design work, we're very capable of doing that from home without even needing a site visit at all. So yeah, if you know someone who's just starting a project, or if you're planning on some extension to your home network or home cinema, whatever, get in touch, because that kind of thing we can still do from a distance. So yeah, that's one angle to explore.
Yeah.
Um, and I suppose to close up this, well, this is still like intro, so to speak, from what we
Oh
discussed
my
earlier,
god.
and it's been going on 20 minutes now. And the last point I had quickly jotted down here was just mentioning why we can't work as normal, because I've been seeing a lot, especially on social media, so like on Instagram, Facebook, etc., where people are saying, "Oh, why can't I go to work? I've got an important role," and then you look at their role, their job title on Instagram, they're like a receptionist at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And you think, hang on, no, that's not an essential role. You know, if you're working in a supermarket, or if you're a delivery driver for supermarkets, etc., or if you work for the NHS, or if you're a police officer, then those are the
Mm.
essential roles.
And
Um,
it's all about the perspective at this time.
I
It's
suppose,
you
yeah,
know the importance is of the role is sort of judged by what's required at the time, and at the moment people can't leave the house, so we need delivery drivers, we need supermarkets because we all need food. That's always going to be an essential role.
yeah,
Healthcare is always going to be an essential role.
exactly. And obviously, what
Being a
we do,
banker is probably not.
no, no, and obviously
Trader, it's not.
what we do is not essential in the slightest.
Oh, it
Um,
is.
well, yeah, if unless we suddenly get a contract with I don't know, like GCHQ to support their staff working from home, and they need a good Wi-Fi connection in their office or bedroom or whatever, then obviously it
Yeah,
becomes essential. So,
no.
but sadly to report, we don't have any such important clients. So
I mean, in the best of times, a smart home audiovisual stuff usually is seen as the luxury item.
yeah, that's right.
So, regardless, it was never an essential item.
Yeah,
At least the AV side of things, it's always, oh, I've overspent on the construction. That's okay, but that means I've got to reduce the budget on the luxury items,
yeah,
and that's you guys.
yeah.
We're used to that. So,
Yeah,
um,
it happens all the time. In fact, we've had that happen twice in the last, well, this year. We've had that happen twice this year so far, which is, yeah, terrible. But we expect it to happen at every turn.
mm.
So,
That's why we're always looking at new products and new methods in which we could save our clients money and still keep the work going,
hmm
and
so,
still create magic.
um, so that's our intro done, and our first, I suppose, order of business is pop-ups galore. Um, One thing, where are we? So Sonos.
Mm.
Anyone who's ever used Sonos, or anyone who owns Sonos, or anyone who knows a friend or family who has Sonos and you have used it, you'll know how great it is. At the same time, Sonos have recently announced that they are axing compatibility for a lot of older devices. I know they've made a U-turn on bricking older devices. There was a few months ago the whole what they call their recycling mode, which
Mm.
basically turns your £500 or £600 Sonos device into a paperweight, or doorstop
Dear.
if you had one of the larger, older zone players. In fact, they make very good doorstops. I used one for a while. Uh, um,
That thing could stop my car.
yeah, it probably could.
Like,
It would take out a tire basically. Um,
yeah.
so
So yeah, the devices that they're discontinued. They're no longer supporting are the bridge, the Connect amp, CR200 wireless remote, Play 5 Generation 1, and the Zone players, which I had one of, as I just explained. And their reasoning is that their devices have a limited lifespan. It's not because of their capabilities, really, but just their ability to be updated.
It's the hardware that's getting too old for the software, and that's the case with all. Be it computers, mobile phones, even cars nowadays.
We're used to that.
Yeah, it happens. It's just that where Sonos is technically, in the grand scheme of things, still a relatively new idea and product. It's just that the initial lifespan was a lot shorter than a lot of people hoped for, I imagine.
Although we've talked about how that Sonos are not doing updates for these devices. However, they are still releasing patches for some of the legacy gear. If they're like security holes detected, that's what I'm reading. So that's good. There's still some updates, but they're not supporting them anymore.
Yeah, and what's really strange is Sonos were actually like the Connect and the Connect amp that's being phased out. The Connect was still being sold as a brand new product as little as 3 months ago. And the Connect amp, I think they only stopped selling those about 6 or 7 months ago. So we actually have clients who have Connect and Connect amps that now no longer will get updates for. And obviously, well, there's no real telling of how long control systems and third-party control systems will actually still be able to interact with those devices. So time will tell, I suppose.
I don't think it's immediate anyway, at least. So people are still able to use their devices and just try and limit the updates as on the other devices as much as possible, your control systems, and then...
Yeah, and I think at least now that they've made their U-turn on the bricking of devices, they're going to be usable for a slightly longer period than previously thought, because you can't accidentally now kill your Sonos amplifier or whatever it is you may have. So continuing on the topic of Sonos, because even though Sonos have made some boo-boos recently, they do also make some awesome solutions for surround sound.
That they do.
A lot of people don't actually realise this, but you can have a 5.1 surround sound system completely wireless, with the exception of a cable that generally an optical cable that goes from your TV to a soundbar. But you can
power.
And power, of course. Yeah, power to all devices. You need power. That's the one thing that you can't quite get wireless yet, except even wireless charging on mobile phones don't quite work all as well as it should.
When they say wireless, they mean wireless audio.
Wireless communications. But yeah, you can have a wireless 5.1 surround sound setup using Sonos devices. So,
and that's not a new thing. That's been going for ages. They've had the surround system set up with the Play Ones and what's the sub called? Is it a Play sub?
I think they've dropped the Play name from it. Let me just double check here.
Sonos sub.
What the official?
But yeah, they've been doing it for years. When was the first one we installed? It was.
Wow.
We did a. It wasn't even a proper. It wasn't a 5.1. It was like 4.1 surround.
So this sub is now just called sub. So
sub.
This particular system.
It's with the beam.
So as you can see in this photo, there are the two satellite speakers, which basically become your surrounds or rear surround speakers. The big box, that's the subwoofer itself that can sit anywhere in the room provided it's connected to power, and then the Beam soundbar, which is a 3-channel speaker. So you got your left, center, right in the soundbar. You got your left and right surround of the two Sonos. I think are they Sonos One? Are they One SLs and the Sonos subwoofer? And yeah, that gives you a basic 5.1 surround sound system. I wonder if they've got some layout drawings here.
The beauty of this as well is all really in the Sonos app as well. So you set it up and you've got your control. You can play all the music from your device. So yeah, it's just a really user friendly bit of kit if you don't want to mess around with buying an AVR and setting up.
Especially if you don't have the luxury of being able to do cabling. So, if you're renting a property, for instance, all you need is power. You can plug these in, you can move it between rooms, you can do whatever you want. Or if it's, say, a retrofit, or if a room has just been decorated, then, no problem. You can have... And in all fairness, Sonos surround sound actually sounds really good, given the size of the speakers, and given that it's wireless. A lot of people get quite concerned about latency, and whether the sound quality is actually there. With regard to is the AV sync going to be there? Yes, it is, quite simply. The latency is so minimal that you cannot physically notice it unless you've got a lot of network traffic on your home network. But then I suppose that comes down to any AV system. If you don't have a decent network, then you don't have anything really, so to speak, in a very rough way of putting it.
Yeah.
And the only way to have a decent, say, Wi-Fi system is to have everything wired, or have as much wired as possible so it doesn't put additional strain on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's always best to have a wire.
So yeah, in contrast to that, obviously there is the traditional AVR or amplifier or surround sound processor and power amps and then speakers, but then that does require cabling. But I think having said that Sonos surround sound sounds good, a proper built and configured wired surround sound system sounds even better.
And what with like emerging technologies, we've got Atmos now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe you can experience Atmos with a wireless surround system.
No.
There may be one out there, but I'm not aware of one.
No, as far as I'm aware, Atmos is very much it requires a lot of processing power. Obviously, there are some Atmos sound bars, but they still physically have around 7, 9, or 11 speakers physically inside the soundbar, all just firing in different directions. In fact,
there is that. But you can get some really, really decent surround systems if you're not worried about cabling. For a relative, I think Denon do a cinema Atmos package for like $3,000, which is so cheap. If you wanted to buy that and set it up at home, or buy something similar, you can get it set up. And if you have any troubles, contact us and we'll give you a hand. We're not doing anything, so
we'll
let you know what you need. We'll give you a shopping list.
Yeah. So wired versus wireless surround sound. I suppose they both have their pros and cons. Wireless is easy to fit. You can put it anywhere you want. In fact, you can actually use it to create an outdoor arena, if you like. Say,
Mm.
move the TV or a projector out into the garden with like a pop-up screen. You put a soundbar underneath, put a couple of surround bits out, you put a subwoofer anywhere. As long as you run power to all of it, you can have an outdoor surround sound system, which that's something that I don't think is explored enough in the AV world, because I suppose in England it rains so much, no one wants anything to get wet or have to keep carrying things in and out.
Yeah,
But
there's that,
it's
and
an
then
idea.
there's acoustics. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to experience
Yeah, it's
the
not going to
sound as
sound the
well.
same, but it's an interesting idea nonetheless.
Oh hell yeah!
But then,
Especially for a party system.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what's around, and
definitely.
then you have some music playing, and everyone's drinking.
Yeah.
Imagine that having a party. Ah man.
Oh, the stuff we take for granted.
I hate parties, but I'd have one right now.
Yeah. And then obviously a wired system is, well, that's for when you have like a dedicated home cinema, or you've had your garage converted to a home cinema, or anything like that. It is what it is. You go in there, you do one thing, you watch a film, or you watch the news and surround sound, which means only one of the speakers are actually doing anything. Um, and that's it. You can't take it with you. You can't move house with it. You can't move it to another room. You know.
Ugh, moving
But
house. If you're renting,
yeah,
you don't want a wired system unless you're happy with wires being on show,
yeah,
because
true.
you just bring the speakers and then you've got to rewire again,
Yeah,
and then it'll be a pain in the ass. So wireless system definitely serves its purpose. Is the sound quality is decent. Um, you might have the odd dropout if you're inundated with devices, and you know wireless signals drop out occasionally. So,
yeah,
but in the grand scheme of things, a wireless system is the way to go if you're renting or you're likely to move.
mm,
But definitely, if you've just bought a place and you're going to be redecorating, it's not going to be much of a pain to carve out a few channels in the walls to get some speaker cable through, run it under carpets or under floorboards. Then yeah, I'd go with the wide route and get the
yeah.
infrastructure in first. Make sure that you've got the right
Cables
speaker, the
everywhere.
right cable. Yeah,
Yeah.
cabled a lot.
Um,
And then choose your system based on your room. And there's
yeah.
plenty of people out there that will happily help you choose a system that's right for your room, especially now that we're all at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, just give us a shout and give us if you've got any drawings of your place, send it over and we can help.
Yeah. And anyone who's got the luxury of maybe having a purpose-built cinema, the possibilities are endless. I mean, you can start with your basic 5.1 surround system, and then you can move it up to 7, 9, 11 channel surround. Then you can add Atmos to that, and you can have overhead channels. What's the maximum overhead channels? Is it 6 or
I
8?
think infinite. Just run cables. Run as
Yeah,
many
just run
cables as you can.
cables everywhere.
Because who knows? Who knows? 10 years down the line, what's going to be
Yeah,
possible? We're going to have hundreds of speakers all surrounding us.
yeah, because
It'll be intense.
especially when it gets to a level of having like a 7.2.4 system, that's when Atmos really comes to it shines, because you got 3 channels at the front, you got 2 channels either side, 2 channels behind you, and 4 over the top, and
And those 4 over the top are immense. You have 4 in
yeah,
front, 4 slightly behind or above, and then so something passes over in the shot in the video, the sound actually
it
follows
travels
that
it
track
travels through
over.
the room.
So it
So
blends
yeah,
it in, and it feels like that. Like I think so. The way they make Atmos content is it's object based. So they basically get this sound. This is the position of it, and then they drag it over,
yeah,
and it automatically gives you that blend of sound over. So when a plane goes over the top of you, you actually think there's a plane above you. It's crazy.
mm, it's
Yeah,
awesome
it
experience.
takes immersive cinema to a whole new level.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
definitely wire for it. If you're not going to have it, you might want it in the future. You
Yeah.
will want it in the future. Get it, do it. Bosh.
And of course, if you've never experienced a home cinema or Atmos cinema, you can always get in touch with us. Once all this blows over, we can actually start taking bookings again. So we've got a partner who do actually allow us to use their demo rooms. They've got 2 demo rooms. One of them is about the size of a double garage. The other one's more the size of a small living room. So that's the size that most people would have, and we can actually demonstrate to you what the different systems can sound like.
And you'd be surprised. Like, don't think that your room is too small to have a cinema.
Yeah, true.
The smaller, the better.
It's,
Personally,
yeah.
they just sound so much more punchy.
The ultimate cinema, I think, would be like the half the size of a 1-car garage and just 2 seats in there.
Just then, one seat.
Yeah,
get rid of this. Get rid of this. Watching movies with other people.
Yeah.
It's your cinema. You watch it on your own.
Yeah.
Just have a really, really comfy seat.
1 seat and a 100-inch screen. Perfect. But yeah, so
you can have a window at the back. People can watch through from another room.
Yeah, but home cinemas, sound can make it or break it. And on the topic of home cinemas, one discussion we've had with a client recently is the debate of TV versus projector. So,
yeah,
I think.
So,
go on, Mike. What were you going to say?
I know, you carry on.
So I think a lot of people, obviously, when you mention cinema or theatre or anything like that, they automatically think projector. Which is great if you have a dedicated cinema room where the projector is going to be turned on at the beginning of a session and turned off at the end, and you don't want to watch anything in between, and you'd have no natural light coming into the room, that kind of thing. But what we find a lot of the time is people want multi-use rooms. So this one in particular was actually like a summer house where one of the walls in its entirety was glass doors. So a lot of natural light comes in, and he wanted a projector in there. And the amount of natural light, even with the curtains drawn, you'd have to have a very bright, very sharp projector to actually get a decent picture in daytime, considering they wanted the room to double up as like a playroom and office. So the doors and curtains would be open because obviously you need the natural light to use as an office whilst the kids are watching something on the screen, which renders it null and void. And eventually we convinced them and said, look, if you really want that multi-use, you have to have a TV, because at least with a TV you turn on and the picture's on. With a projector you have to wait for it to warm up and the brightness to turn up.
I think with this one as well, we were working to a fairly tight budget, so it's not as if we can go throw a really high-powered laser projector in there and it'll work. It'll be great. The budget wasn't there for it, so sometimes when you have to make financial sacrifices like that, you go with the right option rather than what they think would be cool, because it just won't work in reality.
You have to consider the alternatives, basically. So
plus the quality of TVs.
Oh yeah, with 4K now, even up to sizes of like what have we used recently, 85 and 77 inch, they are massive. They're good enough for a room that's probably sort of up to about 6 by 6 meters, and you would get a large clear image, which, I mean, 6 by 6 meters, that's bigger than most home cinemas that we have worked in. So it's only once you want to go larger than that 100-inch mark that you should consider a projector, in my opinion. Because I suppose once you go for a projector,
depends on the size of the room, of course. Like if you've got a small room and you want I mean, you can still project smaller images, but generally it's you want to fill a wall. If you want to fill a wall with an image and the TV's not big enough and it's the right environment for a projector, go for it.
Yeah, like for instance, the client we were at yesterday, like
Mm.
where obviously it's a barn. It's a 6 by 12 meter barn,
Yeah.
and
No
half,
windows.
yeah, no windows, and half of it's a cinema. So it's just that's 6 by 6, and there's a 140-inch screen that you can probably see that from half a mile away with clarity. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, the I think the project description there or requirement was as big as possible.
As big as possible.
Yeah,
And it certainly is big. Like
yeah,
even the barn is pretty big itself, but that screen does not look out of place. It doesn't look lost at all. It's like
uh,
when it comes down, it is there.
yeah.
You know it's
You know
there.
it's there.
Like,
But in contrast, as soon as it rolls up and out the way, if you
mm.
don't know it's there and you walk into the barn, you don't actually even realise there's a projector there, given the size of it.
Yeah, I think
Um,
we've got some pictures on our Instagram showing and a little video of
yeah,
actually of this
very good.
barn cinema.
Um,
We should probably put the link somewhere as well to this video.
oh yeah,
But
let me.
that's this one we're talking about anyway. We'll link it later.
I'm just gonna have a scroll through and see if I can find it on Instagram. Yeah, there it is. So, in all fairness, this picture does it no justice. Um,
Up
and
against the picture.
yeah, hang on, you got the delayed. I've got the picture open. If you could see my screen, then you'd see what I'm looking at. But
Oh yeah, I can see now.
yeah, so that screen does, or this picture does that screen no justice because um, it looks fairly small there, but the bottom of the screen there is actually at shoulder height, so that's about 5 foot. So you can just imagine from there how tall it actually is. The top of the projector is at 4.5 meters. So the thing is, we don't have any reference shots really to show. Well,
No,
they're
you,
short
you,
of.
could, you could play the video.
Yeah, hang on. I'll find the video in a second. I'm just going to flick through these pictures. So here's a shot of uh, that's the projector box at the top part of the image, and there's the screen rolled up and out the way. So the projector also mounted at 4.5 meters. It's high up and out the way, and unless you're looking up trying to find it, you don't know it's there.
It's painted in a very dark box that was
Yeah,
custom built.
yeah. So let's let me find the video. Scroll up to the top, or was it down? No, up here. Like I can't find the video.
Okay.
Oh wait, yeah, got it.
Got it.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna mute that. Comes up really small, but oh yeah, because it's got a full screen.
When you play it, can everyone hear it?
I've muted it so we can talk
Okay.
over it. But there's the barn. There's the projector. There's the screen. There's a rack covered in leaves because they decorated the barn with hops for for a party that happened. I think that was about 6 or 7 weeks ago now.
Oh, it smells so nice in there though.
Yeah.
Like if you're a beer lover, and a lot of AV people are, it's a nice smell to walk into when you're configuring a system surrounded by hops. It just it gets your cravings going.
So yeah, some of these shots are taken from the very back of the cinema, or the barn even, and that's 12 meters away, which, what's that in English terms? Was that 45 feet? 40 feet thereabouts?
Oh, I use meters.
Nearly. Yeah, but a lot of English. A lot. But yeah, so that kind of gives you an idea of how big that screen actually is.
Pretty huge.
Yeah, and a very small rack to house it all. It's just a shame that the rack had to be inside the barn because the adjacent room is a log store and it would just get absolutely destroyed in there.
Yeah. And the other adjacent room is a tool store.
Yeah.
And workbenches in there.
Yeah.
With your cutting wood in there.
Yeah. If it was up to us, we would have had a dedicated room to put that rack into out of sight. But the availability just wasn't there at the
I
time.
mean, that's the case with every job we do. We would prefer there to be a dedicated room, but 9 times out of 10, it's not possible, or
Yeah,
the client just doesn't want to give up that amount of space
yeah,
for something
exactly.
they can't physically see, or they don't know what it is.
Yeah, something they don't have to interact with, so they don't always understand
Mm.
until it gets to the point where it's actually installed, and they think, "Oh, that would have been better then." We're like,
Mm.
"Yeah, we agree."
Yeah, I mean,
So
which it's kind of the point behind our command frame actually.
yeah,
So we
let's
developed. It's
let me
just
find
it's
a picture
basically
of
a
it.
frame for a TV, a soundbar, and equipment. So it houses absolutely everything. And all you need is power and network
Yeah,
to that point. And that way you don't have to have any equipment in cupboards or what was
that's the kids screaming at the TV yet again.
uh,
Yeah,
very very exciting.
yeah, so this picture I've got up here at the moment, um, that frame that's bolted to the wall, that behind it houses, there's an access point, a Wi-Fi access point, a network switch, a Sky Q mini box, an Apple TV, all of the cabling, and a Sonos Play soundbar or Play bar, and you can see an Xbox controller in the corner there. The Xbox is actually mounted to the wall underneath that table. But then our own command frame, so like a naked version thereof, is. Let me find it. Where has it gone? Sure, we've got a bet. There it is. So this is actually a slightly larger version of the former picture. In this particular one, you can see the screen's a bit tilted down because it was mounted up high quite a bit. But this one again, it housed a Wi-Fi access point, a network switch, as well as a router. There was a BT home hub behind this one. There's a sound bar behind the grill at the bottom, and what else? I think that was it behind this one, although there was probably enough space if you had a slot for a disc on the side to actually put a PS4 in there as well. So, yeah.
Hey, I play
Um,
Xbox only. Sorry.
yeah. Oh, yeah, true. There's that. Actually, and this one also had a small Control 4 processor, or the plan was to put a Control 4 processor behind this one, so there was a control system. So, yeah, there's a lot that can be done with them. In that, obviously, it hides everything. So, yeah, a nice single, rather than there being cables everywhere and cabinets full of equipment, you just have everything in one wall mounted piece of furniture.
Hmm. Speaking of control systems,
Yeah.
what's the
Mm.
one part of the control system that the client gives a damn about?
The remote, how easy it is to use.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing they interact with the most. With the exception, there are a few systems or clients I can think of where they don't actually have any remotes and they just use the app, which is something they've become accustomed to. Fair enough. But
I can't stand trying to control my TV with an app.
no, it's annoying because you don't have that tactile feedback. You can't feel where the buttons are on the remote.
You're
You're
forever
constantly
looking
like
down.
looking up and down, up and down. What's going? What am I
Oh,
pressing?
I
Why?
pressed the
Why did
wrong
that
button.
happen? Why is my TV turned off? Why is the volume changing?
Oh,
Oh, hang on.
I do that at home all the time when I'm controlling it by my phone, and
Yeah.
yeah,
So
it's not the one.
it's. Let me get this picture up. Yeah, I think as far as control system remotes go, or as far as control systems go, full stop, the remote is bar none the most important
Beautiful.
aspect. Um, Obviously, we're very familiar with Control 4, for instance, and they're only just starting to phase out the old SR series of remotes, which are it's one of the better remotes, in my opinion. But there are so many buttons on it. There's a lot going on. Let's get a picture up. Control for SR260 in particular. So I didn't want to load up an eBay picture, but let's get a clean picture. Here's the data sheet. Not ideal, but as you can see from those drawings there's a lot of buttons. Over time, naturally, do become used to where they are and what they all do, but you still have to every now and then look down at what's going on to find the button you're looking for. In contrast, the new Savant remote, well, that thing's had all sorts of praise. What do you think about that remote, Mike?
I think it's beautiful. It's really elegant. I mean, shit, it's a remote, but
it's a remote, but
can only say so much about it. But it does have some features that make it.
Yeah, of all of them, I think the Savant remote's probably the only one that sort of screams class.
Yeah,
and elegance, because the touchscreen is very smooth interaction. There are minimal buttons on the remote itself to confuse you and make your fingers lose track of things. And it's fairly fast, which is good compared to the old Savant remote, which was quite frankly just a mess of buttons on a silver plane and didn't always do what it's supposed to. So there it is.
Yeah.
But of course, Control 4 have brought out the new Neo remote, which has even fewer buttons than the Savant remote. In fact, I'm going to count it now. 1, 2, 3, 4, plus D-pads, another 5, so that's 9, plus 3 buttons there. It's only got 12 buttons, which is crazy if you think for a remote. Compared to, like, obviously an Apple TV remote, that's a lot of buttons, but compared to a traditional TV remote, and considering this remote can control anything in your house.
Yeah, the Apple TV is very limited to
the Apple TV.
Apple TV, which doesn't do that much.
Whereas the Control 4 remote with only 12 buttons and the aid of a touchscreen, you can control TVs, you can view security footage, you can open gates, you can turn on sound systems in the pool house, you can... Possibilities are endless.
Yeah, it's pretty limitless of what you can do when you've got a control system that's designed correctly.
It's like a whole house remote in your hand.
You can flush your toilet if you want to.
Yeah, I've seen those toilets. I've used one of those toilets. It's pretty cool.
Have you?
Yeah, it was in the Savoy.
This man's used a lot of toilets.
It was in the Savoy in the Shard on the 40th floor. That was quite the experience. Did I tell you about the seasickness I experienced up there, or motion sickness?
No. Was the place bending?
Yeah, it was a windy day, and the building constantly moves. It's crazy.
I've only felt that once, and I was working on a corporate job in a very big law firm in London, and I was up on one of the top floors in one of their meeting rooms doing a funny re-quoting for a new projection system.
Yeah.
And that building felt like it was wobbling too, and I didn't like it at all. I just wanted to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, I can understand that, definitely.
So, what do you think the best remote is that you've actually used? Because there is the remotes that have alternative functions as well. So rather than best looking, but RTI's remotes are pretty useful.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, RTI have a remote for every occasion. Let me get up there.
With the IR blaster, and can't you with that remote? Can you record IR from other devices, or do you still need a dongle?
You need a dongle plugged into a computer to do it. But let me find the remotes. Okay, so here's one. This is the TX3, I think, which It's still got a lot of buttons, but trust me, that's a lot fewer than previous RTI remotes had. But the touchscreen on there, yeah, these remotes are a world of their own because you can actually set the remote up as an intercom in device. So if you've got an intercom set up at your front door, you can have the video come through to the remote, and you can have a conversation on the remote. So you'd be watching TV, call comes through. Oh, you don't even need to get your phone out of your pocket. You don't need to go to a touchscreen. You use the remote. There you are, and then open the door if you have an electronic lock, etc.
That's awesome. I know a lot of manufacturers were putting microphones in their remotes mainly for the voice control aspect of it. But
yeah,
that's very impressive.
So here's an array of RTI remotes. The
Damn.
TX4 being one of the latest. So, like I said, they make a remote for every occasion. For instance, the Pro Control and the Surfer remote, actually all of their remote controls, you can actually just use the remote. You don't even need a control system. You can use the remote as its own control system. If you have a very basic, even if you have a multi-room setup, you can program entire systems into the remote itself. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
For instance, the T1B, even the T1B,
wow,
you could actually program up to 8 rooms into it, so you can tell it to switch between rooms, and then control all the devices in that, or up to at least say 4 devices in that room.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, it's a very expensive solution to something that there are alternatives to, but it's a nice remote.
Yeah, and obviously, if you go for something like the T2X, for instance, you can. That's when the remotes start getting really powerful, and obviously you've got additional buttons there, and you can actually use that remote to probably control every single speaker, TV, anything with infrared control. This is without a control system in running the back end of things. Anything with infrared you can control from that remote, and obviously you've got the touchscreen on there, so you can customize it. Or if you move on, so it basically becomes what like a home control app would be on your phone, but on a remote. They're very versatile, very good, but with it, very expensive.
Crazy.
Let's see what touch.
But useful for a single room solution. Say you've bought your home cinema setup and all of the devices are sitting under the TV. You've got one remote.
Mm-hmm.
That's a useful application for it.
Yeah, very good for it. Control kits. Let's see what they've updated in that. Okay, so they've got a little control kit here. Surfer remote with XP3 controllers. So that's the other good thing about RTI. They provide controllers or processors for very small as well as very large projects. So if you've got a very simple project, you can have a small processor. If you've got a very large project, you can have a larger one. Obviously, the likes of Control 4 do something similar, where you can have something as small as the CA1, which just does home automation stuff, no AV, up to the EA5, which does, well, a lot. It's a full-blown computer in a box. RTI do a similar thing. I think there are very few companies now who offer anything similar. The majority of them just have their one control system or box. So like Savant, for instance, they are very much concentrating on the new smart host. Obviously you can have more options, but you always need to have one of their Mac Minis at the center of it all. So, and then I think Elan's the same, where there's just one or two control systems, a bit like URC. You've got a small one and a big one, nothing in between, and you just have to make the most of what's there. So
yeah.
But yeah,
So we can't really. We were going to try and work out what the best remote is, but really, it's all preference, right?
yeah,
So some
yeah,
people like
like I say,
things.
it's perspective based. So if you want something for its sheer look and interaction, for me, it's the Savant remote.
Hmm.
Um, if you want to be able to do as much as possible from a single point of interaction, it is anything from RTI really, preferably something like the T4X, um, because it's got a massive screen, it's very powerful, it's got the two-way communications, um, you know,
It's the
it,
Swiss Army knife of home
it,
control remotes.
yeah, it is that. If you combine that with a small controller or even a large one, whichever, there's not a lot that it cannot do. So, yeah, it's a that would be like an overall winner for me because it's starting to get onto the look for the Savant one as well.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I hadn't seen the T4X,
it
and it does look very nice.
yeah. Um, so yeah, what about?
Uh, and we're dealers, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. We are RTI dealers. It's just a shame that they are very expensive
Yeah.
compared to especially Control 4. Control 4 just wiping the floor with cheap solutions, which they're not bad solutions.
No, far from it. They are
Like
very good.
they are very good. There are some limitations, but you'd be very hard pressed to find those limitations.
Yeah.
So yeah, Control 4. I've yet to use one of the Neo remotes, so um, yeah, I might change my mind if once I've used one and it's maybe better than anything else I've seen before.
Mm.
Um, so yeah,
Phew, what's
that's the
next?
remotes.
Next
Um,
subject. The infrastructure.
yeah, infrastructure. I suppose what's the real question there? Cat 5, Cat 6, or something bigger?
So if I lay out a scenario, say I'm rewiring my house. I've got the electricians in, they're rewiring. I really want TVs everywhere. I
Mm.
want to future proof my property, but I have no idea what cables I need. Do I use Cat 5? Do I use Cat 6? Or what else is there to use? So, what would you recommend?
Yeah, well, it could come down to something as trivial as the budget,
Mm,
you know, because at the end of the day, Cat 5e is perfectly fine, um, within reason.
depending on what, yeah. So
Yeah.
say here's the scenario. I want multi-room video. I want 4K to each TV.
Hmm. Um,
But also I want the ability to eventually, when say 8K comes along or more, I don't want to
hmm.
have to rewire. I want it future proof. So there there we have a scenario where someone wants the best infrastructure,
Yeah.
um, to allow them to not have to bring the walls down
Yeah.
when the next best thing comes in.
In that
Um,
case, Cat 7. Yeah.
well,
Like.
there's that.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking fiber because
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of I know a lot of integrators now they're pulling in the Cat 6 and they're going, well,
Hmm.
should we use Cat 6A or should we use Cat 7?
Yeah.
Um
I
and
suppose, especially for networking, just having networks, Wi-Fi, etc. Yeah, fiber is one way of doing it, but obviously the limitation with fiber at the moment is that communication can only happen between two network switches,
hmm,
unless there's some
use like fiber extenders.
unless there's HD base T over fiber. Is that a thing?
Yeah, you
Um,
can get fiber video extenders.
so you can get HDMI over fiber, but it's not HD base T, so
Hmm.
it's not the standard that we use. Uh, so yeah,
Yeah.
fiber's an option. The only thing with fiber it always comes down to is how strong it is physically. You know.
That's true, and it depends. If you can trust the people that are working on your house to be very careful with these delicate cables. Now, I've come across HDMI's in that have been running the wall from a high level to low level that have been filled with plaster,
Yeah.
and like they've even gone to the extent of taking the taking the plastic sheath and the tape off
Yeah.
and painting the bloody cable
Yeah.
and ruining it. Like, do you trust the people you're working with to not do that to your cable? And
Yeah.
my answer as an integrator would be hell no. So I would want to put the most robust option in. That said, if fiber can go in alongside more robust options, so say for instance you're going to put in two Cat6 and a fiber to every TV point, I would definitely go down that route personally, rather than the Cat6A, Cat7 option. Just I mean it's a pain to terminate Cat6A and Cat7.
Well,
Um,
it's it's a it's a pain to terminate it, but once it's in place, it's the best solution as like an all rounder.
it's useful for us for now.
Yeah.
But for future applications, who knows? Are they going to keep going with the Cat 6A, Cat 7, Cat 8, Cat 9, whatever? Or a manufacturer's going to start looking to fiber as the new commonplace?
Definitely. Yeah, fiber's definitely going to overtake at some point because it also has the advantage of being able to broadcast over a greater distance. But yeah, I still think for the right here and right now, Cat 7 or even Cat 6A, I don't think there's a much of a price difference per spool between those two, and they've got very similar specs, and not a lot of people know it or have tried it, but you can actually
Not a lot of people know that.
you can actually punch down Cat 6A and Cat 7 to a Cat 6 module. Now, technically, that is not what it's supposed to be done because you're mixing connection mediums, but the possibility is there, so you can have a generic Cat 6 module in the wall with Cat 6A or Cat 7 up to that point. So it'll behave like Cat 6, which means at least you'll get gigabyte or gigabit connectivity. But it does also then mean once you do want to upgrade, you can actually change those out for like better spec modules and have a better connection there. So have your 10 gigabit connection. Because that's the main reason for upgrading to the better cables or the newer categories of cables, because we're forever requesting that we send more data down them. In that, obviously, with Cat 5e, for instance, what the HDBaseT protocol was built on, the physical data rate cap is, I think, something like 10.3 or 10.8 gigabits per second, which means you can't send full 4K HDR video down it. So until HDBaseT is upgraded to at least meet the specs of Cat 6, which does mean HDBaseT can't be used on Cat 5e at all, then we'll actually see an increase in speed. But currently HDBaseT they're keeping it so that it's got greater compatibility across the board, so you can still use Cat 5e to at least get 4K video to an endpoint. I know you can use CSC to get like a fake HDR on a display, but I've yet to see how well that actually works. But from what manufacturers are saying, using color space correction to mimic HDR signals, it looks almost as good as the real HDR signal. But as I said, until I've physically seen it for myself, I won't comment much more on the quality.
Almost as good still isn't as good though, right?
Yeah.
So if we're going to be pedantic,
exactly.
Like I'd be the same if it was my audio system, and I could notice a difference, then I would not want to be paying the amount of money that a lot of people do pay on high quality equipment to have
Yeah.
ever so slightly less decent system. Like, it's not perfect, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's my opinion on it anyway.
Yeah. Because the only way to increase that data rate that's usable over the cables is to use a better quality cable. Obviously, with Cat 6, it'll only increase slightly, but once you get onto Cat 6A and Cat 7, that's when you start seeing like 10 to 20 gigabit connectivity possibilities, and even higher. In fact, where was it? I think it was a Korean science lab a few months ago managed to use Cat 6A to transmit data at something like 130 gigabit per second, which is crazy. But obviously, they had
Crazy.
they had very complicated uh, muxes and demuxes at either end. So yeah, very expensive, very bespoke equipment to achieve that. So yeah, but it won't be long before we start seeing a massive shift in cabling. And yeah, for now, if you want like a one cable answer for what should I pick with if I'm wiring my house, and you've got a budget in mind, Cat 6. Just use good quality Cat 6 because it is capable of carrying, well, giving you gigabit connectivity around the house. I know Cat 5e can do gigabit as well, but Cat 6 is physically, it comes down to the size of the copper inside the cable. It's that little bit thicker. I know it's only a few microns, but it's bigger is better in the world of cables, basically. That's as simple as it is. For instance, if you look at a power transmission line, a 2 millimeter squared cable can only carry current of maybe 1 amp, whereas once you start looking at like mains lines, for instance, some of them are 1 or 2 inches in diameter, and that's the only way you get like those 400 kilovolt transmissions. So simple as that, because it's electronic signals at the end of the day. Until we get to fiber, then it's a case of how clear is your glass. So
and that's a whole other matter.
yeah. How clear and how intact is your glass? Because so many times have we seen it with optical cables for audio, and it's like, oh, my speakers have stopped working. Yeah, that's because you've chucked a book on top of an optical cable and you've snapped it in half. So no, but the cable's in one piece. No, it's snapped. Look how limp it is. It doesn't.
That is the trouble. Optical is glass breaks.
Yeah,
it's not great. Okay, so that doesn't bring us on to, well, it kind of does. So we were talking about networking cable Cat 6. We're now looking at Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is something that all of us are going to be using a hell of a lot more now we're all stuck at home.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm actually upstairs where I don't have a hardwired connection. I'm not completely using, I'm not wireless though, so I've got a power line adapter. So my network router downstairs is plugged into this power line adapter, which does some magic and connects me to the receiver end or the transmitter end, whatever, the computer end, and then that's patched in to my Ethernet port. So I'm wired via a power line adapter, but you know, what's better? Are we talking wired or wireless? What's the difference? And why do I need the other one?
Well, one's faster.
Okay, easy.
Yeah. Well, it's depends on how you look at it. So, Ubiquiti Amplify products. Well, like the main hubs, the amplifier hubs or the amplifier routers, they've got. You can actually get a point-to-point connection wirelessly at up to 5 gigabits per second, which is crazy for a wireless connection. So you can have wide connection speeds wirelessly now. Um,
Whoa.
yeah, and so that's the same. The basis of that's the same system as what's installed at the clients we were at yesterday in the house. So it's an old 1600s house, Grade 2 listed building, no cabling infrastructure anywhere at all, weren't allowed to make holes in walls. I suggested an amplifier system. Is actually, what was it, about nearly a year and a half ago now. It's been running since. I've been back there to upgrade the firmware on it twice now in total. Not that it needed it, it was just I happened to be there and the firmware upgrade popped up and I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And it takes 2 minutes. And they've got, well, obviously, they've got two separate control 4 systems, one in the gaming room upstairs in the house, and then there's the cinema in the barn, and it all relies on this amplify system basically keeping its shit together.
Right.
And it's been flawless. They have Wi-Fi all around the house. In total, there are now 5 of the mesh points or the access points around the house. One in the garden, in fact. Then the main hub in their office, and yeah, it's been a flawless system. There's been no connection drops. The Wi-Fi speeds throughout the house is actually higher than the incoming fiber line, which I think they've got 40 up, 40 down connection. So a lot of the times you'll actually see throughput testing records between 70 and 90 megabits per second, and the internet's only is capped at about 40. So, you know,
Yeah.
simple mathematics. Your internet is not going to outpace your Wi-Fi anytime soon with amplifying.
That's what I was kind of getting to. I was gonna get to until you actually clarified it. Like, what does that mean to someone who doesn't know what all these numbers and
Yeah,
jargon you're talking about means?
yeah,
It means that you're not going to struggle with speeds as long as the incoming line is powerful, is fast.
yeah. There is, of course, BT and Virgin and Sky who say, "Oh yeah, we've got the latest and greatest new super hub, Wi-Fi all around the house." That's simply not true. You can get a good connection within up to about 5 to 10 meters of the hub or the router, without there being any walls or doors in the way, and you do get fairly good connection. But the Wi-Fi radios in a lot of those devices are just not set up to deal with the amount of technology we have connected to Wi-Fi these days. For instance, I mean, we haven't got. I wouldn't say we've got that many devices, especially my computer's wired in. But then we've got 2 mobile phones, 2 tablets, a couple of laptops. There's a wireless speaker. What else? There's a few more wireless things, like smartwatches, iDevices.
Mm.
You know, there's a few things, and for the single, we've got Virgin Media internet. So every now and then, I do still find myself having to reboot the router because it's denying connections to wireless devices because it can't cope with it. And we've seen the same happen with Sky and BT, doing the same. And
Yeah.
the only way around that is to have a dedicated Wi-Fi system, which obviously requires a wired backbone or infrastructure, where obviously you have cabling going from a central managed point or a network switch, going out to access points, maybe one in each corner of the house, so to speak, and then it allows devices to roam to their own access points. So not everyone sharing, there's not the bottleneck of everyone connecting to the same point. Everyone can connect to their respective areas, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, in the argument of wired versus wireless, wired is better every single time, and it's even more important if you want good wireless. Because to have good wireless, you have to have as many devices as possible wired, so that for the devices that cannot be wired, so your mobile phone, your iPad, whatever, for that to have the best connection, everything else has to get out the way and be wired into the network.
Okay. Well, that kind of sums up most of what we wanted to cover in this stream. I mean, it only took us an hour and a half.
Yeah, well, it was half hour of introductions and joking about coronavirus.
It's no joke.
It's no joke. People are dying.
Yeah.
So.
But speaking of the apocalypse, we do like to do something outside of work and outside of AV, and that's gaming. I wanted to talk about gaming.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw gaming in there because, I mean, we're big 7 Days to Die fans, and it just seemed very relevant. I know this is not a zombie apocalypse, but yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah, I'm just on my gaming Instagram. Let me just see what this little video here. Can I unmute this? Let me just play this. I don't know if you'll get the audio through. Oh.
So you've got your daughter in the background. My daughter's here rolling a belt behind me. She's threatening me with a belt.
Oh, there's a zombie.
I'm watching in a very delayed.
I can imagine.
I loved the bit where you run away.
Yeah, and that was me dead. But yeah, that was an interesting, because that was day one of the session, so that was crazy.
That was a very harsh day one, I have to say.
Yeah, it was. There was something
there
wrong.
Was bears.
There was something definitely wrong there.
Wait, was that was the one where we played a little bit before that, and then we closed the game. I stayed in a little bit longer and decided to shoot the bear.
Yeah, and then I joined in
before I left, and then let him shoot, and the bear was inside the house.
Yeah, that was something else, to say the least.
That was a dick move.
Without decent network infrastructure, there's no way we can play that game, because obviously I host the server for that under my desk through a network switch wired to the router, and obviously my computer runs through that, and then Michael, who's sitting 30 miles away from me, he connects into the server I've got here at home, and we can play merrily together.
Without problems as well. Surprisingly, I thought there'd be more problems.
Yeah, it's been especially problem free over the last couple of sessions we've had, which is good.
Hey.
So yeah.
But yeah, keep an eye on our. Well, I suppose it'd be your YouTube channel.
Yeah. Well, like I said at the beginning, I don't think we've got any. We haven't had any plans to make any more streams, because when we planned to have this Q&A session, to which there have been no questions so far, except for the one about who's the last person you said thank you to. We've answered a lot of our own questions even, but we hadn't planned to have another stream, so yeah, because we didn't realise that we were going to go into full country lockdown mode. But now that was announced last night, I suppose good timing on this stream. Hopefully a few
maybe it'll be the start of something. Like if anyone has any retrospective questions following this video, then ask away, and maybe we can do another video answering more user requested questions.
Yeah, I think the important thing to say is, from a technical perspective, so this video is obviously being streamed on my personal YouTube channel. What I'm going to do once it's finished processing on the YouTube server, I'm gonna copy it across to the Command AV YouTube channel and post a link on Instagram so that everyone can see it there. And any questions you have, retrospectively, post it in the comments or get in touch via Instagram or get in touch. We've got a little feedback or contact form on our website, commandav.co.uk. Or you can always drop us an email. Our email addresses are on the contact us page on our website. Or, yeah, like I said, through Instagram. That's the one thing where we try to be as active as possible, at least every day. So any messages that come up through there, we'll respond to as and when we can. And yeah, I think maybe if we do happen to get a surge of questions between now and say this time next week or whatever, maybe we'll do another stream on the Command AV YouTube channel, and we'll answer all of those questions or anything that we can think of in between. We'll add it to the lineup of what we are going to discuss.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, definitely. It's been good fun.
There was one more tip. I thought I was watching some videos the other day from a YouTube channel called DIY Perks, and it was inspiring me. Now that I'm at home and I've got essentially I've got no work to do, I wanted to get my hands dirty on some fun projects. And this guy he's got a YouTube channel where he just shares interesting things you can do with stuff like old electronics. And one in particular, there was a DIY CCTV system that you should check out. It's just made of old laptop components. And if you've got a soldering iron and a bit of a brain about you, check this out and start making some fun stuff, because it looks really cool. And if you do make anything, let me know what you make. Share it with us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
that'd be cool.
DIY Perks is awesome channel. Yeah.
Or Colin Furs.
Or Colin Furs, yeah. But you basically need a full-blown, fully fledged workshop to keep up with what he does.
That's insane. I watched the hover bike one the other day.
Yeah. Oh,
that was insane.
Absolute madness.
He did a series of superheroes. So he did like the Wolverine claws, and Magneto. He made some magnetic boots and just walked upside down on the ceiling of his garage. Unreal. It just he used old microwave coils, electromagnets.
Yeah.
And he like fabricated some metal components to go on his shoes.
Yeah.
And then he had like a release mechanism on each shoe so he could unpower the magnet and then reattach it. He's an absolute crazy genius, and if you're bored and you love that sort of stuff, check out Colin Furs. I wish I was that clever.
Yeah. Well, good fun.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, so for those who tuned in, thank you very much for watching. We're sorry to have bored you for an hour and a half.
Yep.
And like we said, if there's any questions, keep an eye out for the video to be uploaded to YouTube, and then leave a comment. Let us know what you want to know, or what you think, or any concerns you may have. Even if it's not AV related, we'll try and answer it. Or obviously, anyone who gets involved at all with dealing with running a business, as we find out info for ourselves, we can share that information. We can try and help out where we can.
Yep.
Because this is lockdown day 1. We're nearly at the midway point. Yeah.
Remember, we're all in this together, so help out everyone.
Yeah,
help people out.
It's like a very contagious circle jerk.
That's not the term. That's not what we're going for. Come on, that's not the message we were sharing, really.
Yeah. Well, no, but I suppose it's less messy than that at the moment because no one's out in the streets. Okay, we're getting severely off topic here.
Uh,
Yeah, I think
okay.
maybe it's time for an early lunch or a late breakfast or something.
I mean, I'm always
Um,
hungry.
yeah, there is that. That's the problem of being in lockdown.
Bye.
Bye. I'm gonna go stuff my face.
I am gonna go stuff my face.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Well, Michael, no doubt I will catch up with you sometime later today. Everyone else, we will catch up with you. It might be tomorrow. It might be next week. It might be next month. We'll see
Who
how it
knows?
goes. Um, and yeah. Did we miss anything?
I don't think we did. We said bye. Did we
Ooh,
say subscribe? Everyone seems to say
yeah.
subscribe. Subscribe.
Subscribe, like, and leave a comment. But not on this channel. But you can do on this channel. But also look out for this same video on the actual channel. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Subscribe to my channel as well. I don't
Yeah.
know what my channel is. Mr.
My
Mikey Boosh.
yeah. Fine.
Whatever.
I can add. I'll add links in the description for the actual video when it
Yeah.
goes up.
I've got like
Yeah.
one video. It's really interesting. Have
You got more than one. I'm sure of it.
I? It's probably my CV on there or something.
Oh, okay.
I'm really bad at. I'm not very YouTubey, but maybe I will be. Who knows?
Yeah.
I've got a camera. I've got a microphone. I've got
Yeah.
3 weeks at least.
Yeah. You can learn.
Let's do it.
All right. Good stuff. Right. I'm gonna end the
Cool.
stream there. And yeah. Bye, guys and
Bye.
girls. Anyone who joined in. Thank you very much.